Farm Week is a production of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Today on Farm Week, animal welfare issues are affecting the way consumers are buying.
In southern gardening, Beautyberry. It's a native that's at home in the landscape.
The Food Factor tells us why you should make water your #1 beverage.
Make it easy for everyone to choose.
In the markets, hog prices turn lower, but future demand is forecast to grow. While the potential for a large cotton crop keeps the pressure on prices, John Michael Riley has analysis.
In the feature segment, find out about a Missouri program that's improving the quality and price of that state's replacement heifers.
The Missouri Show Me Select replacement.
You know, we started out with this program just to make a little extra money on as far as selling bred heifers, but it's turned our whole cow herd around because, you know, through AIing and being able to get better genetics.
Good day, everyone. I'm Leighton Spann.
And I'm Artis Ford. Welcome to Farm Week. Well, the nation's largest meat producer says animal welfare issues continue to be a driver for change in the industry.
Artis, those words came from Dean Danielson, the Vice President for Animal Well-Being for Tyson Foods. Danielson says more consumers are becoming aware of animal welfare issues. Danielson says animal welfare is increasingly becoming a factor in purchasing decisions. He says consumers want to know more about how food is produced, but on the other hand, studies are also showing consumers aren't interested in hearing science-based arguments. They don't resonate with consumers. Danielson says the meat industry must continually ask itself, is there a better way to do things? Is what was good yesterday mean that is good for today or good for tomorrow?
Mississippi Delta Community College says it plans to continue its agricultural training program for entry-level farm employees. The initial 10-day training took place recently in Moorhead. MDCC held the course after Delta farmers told them that they're continually having problems finding employees who can run today's modern electronic farm machinery.
Instead of me walking behind a person and slowing them down, I come to class and get the basics and I catch on quick and I get to work, sir.
9 students took part in the first agricultural production training from the CAPS Technology Center at Mississippi Delta Community College.
Started about a year and a half ago. We had some of the local farmers that were interested. They were needing labor that was a little more trained on equipment coming into the farm for the first time.
I really want to help the local economy. I mean, the people, they're graduating, there's no jobs out there.
Perfect. Line up.
Rain moved the training on this day from the field to a parking lot, but that didn't stop the students from getting familiar with the modern electronic equipment found on much of today's farm machinery. Spray rig application and tractor steering can be controlled by satellite navigation.
Who would imagine, 20 years ago we'd have a tractor, you didn't even have to turn the steering wheel. It's being steered by the GPS system on there for, with assisted steering. Wade Incorporated and Ayers Delta Implement loaned up-to-date equipment to the program so the students would get experience with modern technology.
What we've decided is that the thing that would benefit this class, we think the most, is having as much as a modern tractor as we could get.
The students also learned how to maintain farm equipment. While getting the students familiar with the machinery was important, farm safety was the goal beginning with day one.
In addition to being exposed to the equipment, they also are exposed to the worker protection training, to pesticide safety training. So it gives them the ability to know how to protect themselves on the job and be able to recognize hazards.
Learning the safety part of it. I didn't realize that a lot of stuff could happen, just for being careless. The training was funded by the Mississippi Community College Board. Additional support was provided by Mississippi Farm Bureau and Delta Council.
Barry Corley says that since the training's ended, he knows of at least 2 students who have been hired as a result of the course.
Are you spending time outside enjoying the weather this summer? Well, in this week's episode of The Food Factor, Extension Family and Consumer Science Specialist Natasha Haynes with the Mississippi State University says to make water your #1 beverage.
Whether it's mowing the yard, washing the car, or working in the garden, we spend a lot of time outdoors in the summer months. It's important to drink plenty of fluids to prevent dehydration. Without ample water, you can experience muscle cramping, heat exhaustion, or heat strokes. So what is the best way to prevent this problem? Water. It's the perfect beverage. It's calorie-free, sugar-free, fat-free, and usually free at a restaurant.
Hi, what can I get y'all to drink?
Water.
Alrighty.
Try these strategies to make water your #1 beverage. Keep water and other calorie-free beverages on hand at work, at home, and in the car. Make it easy for everyone to choose water. Carry a water bottle with you and refill it throughout the day. Add a slice of lemon, lime, or orange to jazz up your water. Make a pitcher of water with fruit slices and keep it in the refrigerator. Add a splash of fruit juice to still or sparkling water. You can even add fresh mint for an interesting twist. Whew! These Mississippi summers can be brutal. Remember to take breaks and make water your #1 beverage. It's time to make healthy food a factor in your life.
The National Center on Health, Physical Activity and Disability says you should drink 14 to 22 fluid ounces of water 2 hours prior to an outdoor activity. Now, while you're doing the activity, 6 to 12 ounces should be consumed every 15 to 20 minutes.
In this week's Southern Gardening segment, we have a native shrub that will grow great in your yard. Extension horticulturist Dr. Gary Bachman says Beautyberry is a go-to plant in the landscape.
More gardeners than ever are interested in having native plants in their landscapes. If there was only one native plant I could choose, it would have to be a beautyberry. The deciduous American beautyberry is the variety gardeners are the most familiar with. Known for its fall show of beautiful purple berries, they are bright and shiny, arranged in clusters at the leaf nodes, and held tightly along the arching branches. There are American beautyberry selections having both pink and white berries. But there is a non-native beautyberry I also can't do without. Calicarpa dichotoma, or Japanese beautyberry, is a smaller version of its American cousin. The leaves are smaller, and the purplish fruit clusters are on short stems all along the branches. In the early summer, both American and Japanese beautyberries have small pink to lavender flower clusters called cymes that bloom in the axils of the leaves. But the beautyberry I like the most is a selection called Duet. The reason this is my favorite is because I discovered this plant. It was a mutation on a white-berried Japanese beautyberry selection called Alba fructus. Duet is a variegated selection with medium green leaves having white to creamy edges. Early summer brings small white flowers blooming along the stems. In the fall, white berries are a treat. Beautyberries will grow well in partial shade to full sun in our landscapes and gardens. I'm horticulturist Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
While beautyberries are edible for wildlife, you may want to look to other plants if you want to provide food for birds. In the feature segment today, Show Me Select. This program is improving heifer quality and farm efficiency in the state of Missouri. Before we get to the markets, we want to ask you to help us. We want your opinions and perceptions about Farm Week and what we can do to make this show better.
If you will go to our Facebook page or our web page, you will see a link. Now on the web page, it's in the upper right corner. Follow that link and you can rate us and tell us what kind of stories and information you want to see on Farm Week. Our website address is farmweek.msucares.com. On Facebook, our fan page is Farmweek USA.
And you can also call toll-free if you'd like to talk to someone about Farm Week. The number is 877-274-1600, extension 92. That's 877-274-1600, extension 92. You can do this between 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday. Saturday and Sunday, the hours are 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Central. Now, all responses will be confidential. Your telephone number or email address will not be associated with your responses. We want you to be honest with us. Give us praise where it's due, and criticism where we need that as well. But we do need your help, so get on there and do a survey. Time now for the markets with Leighton. And Leighton, good news for the state's #1 ag commodity, you say.
That's right, Artis. More people are eating chicken in the United States. Details on that coming up. Also in the markets this week, the upcoming August crop report may hammer corn prices. Cotton prices, meanwhile, remain under pressure from huge ending stocks, while the global demand for pork is forecast to increase. Tuesday, August 12th, about 2 weeks from now, could be a day to remember in the grain markets. The monthly crop and supply-demand reports out that day are expected to be a market mover, but not necessarily in a good way as far as the prices farmers receive. DTN senior analyst Aaron Newsom says corn in particular could really take a licking once the new numbers are released. He advises to make sales before August 12th.
Like wheat, corn is sharply oversold and desperately in need of a rally to take some of this, some of this bearishness out of it. But when it does, it's going to be a market that everyone's looking to sell because everyone's waiting for that August report. Now they've got it penciled in. That's when this thing's really going to get hammered next. So between now and then could be an opportunity to get some sales on.
Growing ending stocks continue to be the main story in the cotton market. Extension Ag economist John Michael Riley told me on Wednesday this situation continues to keep cotton prices under pressure. Well, the last supply and demand reports really didn't do anything, John Michael, to help cotton, did it?
Well, it really didn't. We got more acres came in from the June acreage report, but on top of that, they increased the amount of harvested acres. Typically, we're in that 75 to 80% range of acres that are actually harvested, but this time they bumped that up to 85% from this report. That could very well change, but the conditions look really good. Rains across the overall across the U.S., but especially in that major growing region in West Texas. So that really propelled them to push that acreage number up. So that then pushed total production up 1.5 million bales. So it's currently sitting at 16.5 million bales of production as expected. We were able to use some of that up in the use. We're expected to use more here in domestic mills and then a bump in exports. But overall, 5.2 million bales of ending stocks expected to carry over from this current marketing or this upcoming market year to the next, which was an increase of 900,000. So a lot of pressure was put on the market that day with that report.
And of course, you can look at what's happened in the market the last couple of months really to see that there's a lot of cotton out there, right?
There is a lot of cotton in the U.S. So that's where the biggest gain came from a global standpoint. But just globally, there's a lot of cotton. We right now looking at 95% of current global stocks compared to use is sitting in inventories across the globe. So essentially, we could almost have enough on hand to use for a full year. Without even having to produce anything. So that puts a tremendous amount of pressure on the market. We're seeing that. We've come down about 15, 17 cents since the peak in early May. For a cotton producer, that's $180 to $200 an acre that's kind of left the market just since in that short time period.
Now the U.S. economy is definitely doing better than in recent time, and that could impact cotton positively.
I keep trying to see the silver bullet here, the lining there. I think the general economy is there and could potentially add some relief to this issue because of the fact that it is doing well and cotton does really key very heavily on the general economy, but we're just not seeing it yet.
Let's break from the markets to look at the trivia quiz for this week. And here's the question for you. What's the most popular food to prepare on a grill? Is the answer steak, hot dogs, hamburgers, or chicken? I'll tell you at the end of the markets.
We're going to pause for a short break on Farm Week. Coming up, we'll look at the calendar and the rest of the markets. Leighton Spann reports pork prices have weakened, but they are expected to climb again. And the feature segment today, Show Me Select. This Missouri program is helping cattlemen to produce higher quality and higher price replacement heifers.
Hi, I'm Leighton Spann, host of Farm Week. You're invited to take part in a viewer survey about Farm Week. We want to know what's good and what's bad. Go to our website, farmweek.msucares.com, look in the upper right corner, and it will direct you to our online survey. There's also a telephone survey where you can tell your thoughts to an actual person. You'll find a link to it on our website as well. You can also find these links on our Farm Week USA Facebook page.
Before we get back to the markets, let's look at the Farm Week calendar. The annual Agronomy Field Day will take place at Mississippi State University's North Mississippi Research and Extension Center on August 7th. That's a Thursday. Growers should meet at the conference building at the nearby Lee County Agri Center. Field tours will leave from there. The hours are 8 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Lunch will be served. There's no registration fee. Interested in growing for a farmer's market? Well, then you should participate in the Mississippi Micro Farming Short Course to take place Wednesday and Thursday, August 27th and 28th. The location will be the Eagle Ridge Conference Center in Raymond. The short course is free, but there is advanced registration, and that's required. What vegetables and fruits to grow for farmers markets and selling at farmers markets are just a few of the items on the agenda. We'll have a link on our calendar to help you register. Go to our Farm Week website at farmweek.msucares.com for information on these and other events. Now check out this week's Farm Week Snapshot.
We move into livestock now. Demand for pork continues to grow. A new report from Elanco is forecasting that global demand for pork will increase by 50% by the year 2050. Now, to meet this future demand, an Elanco spokesman says pigs will need to be 9 pounds heavier than they are today and reach that weight about 3 weeks earlier. Meanwhile, more Americans are, on average, eating more chicken and more of it a lot of the time. A new consumer survey reported by Brownfield Ag News found that overall chicken consumption is up 17% from just 2 years ago. Consumers said price was a factor in the decision to buy chicken. However, the top reasons given for the purchases were said to be nutrition and taste. Before our feature story, let's check our trivia answer for this week. The correct choice is C. Hamburgers are the most popular food to prepare on a grill, according to the Hearth, Patio, and Barbecue Association.
Our feature story today takes us to Missouri, where a statewide program is working to increase the quality of that state's replacement heifers. Show Me Select plays off the state's well-known motto. With more than 100,000 heifers enrolled, Market to Market's Paul Yeager says many Missouri cattlemen are believers. Some herds have even shortened their calving season to only 2 weeks.
America's cattle herd is smaller than it has been in 63 years, but the number of young females being kept for breeding is on the rise. The Agriculture Department reports the nation's farmers and ranchers kept nearly 5.5 million beef heifers for breeding this year, up nearly 100,000 from last year. And in anticipation of rebounding cattle numbers, a handful of states have added or are planning heifer improvement programs, such as one began 17 years ago in Missouri.
You know, we're at a very fortunate time relative to having the program in place, given where the cattle industry is at and the demand for heifers, because there's going to be significant demand for good quality replacement heifers.
In the early 1990s, Patterson established a single county program in Kentucky where cattle producers were worried about low pregnancy rates and calving difficulty among their heifers.
You know, now it would seem to be a fairly simplistic set of requirements that more or less encompassed everything from the time a heifer was weaned from her mother on up through her first breeding season and then subsequently.
Patterson believed the University of Missouri Extension's statewide network of livestock specialists would make a larger scale effort possible. So a few years later, he brought the concept with him to the #2 beef cattle producing state, setting up the Missouri Show Me Select Replacement Heifer Program.
We eliminate heifers right up front that aren't going to succeed. Some of the top cattle economists say it takes us 5 or 6 years to pay for a heifer.
Heifers remaining in the program are eligible to be sold at Show Me Select auctions. In November and December of 2013, bred heifers in those sales sold for an average of more than $2,100. Heifers in Oklahoma City, the location the federal government uses to track breeding stock sale prices, brought an average of $1,287 or $900 less. University of Missouri ag economist Scott Brown says the comparison isn't perfect because the federal government doesn't track prices for breeding stock as closely as those of market steers and heifers. But he believes the data from multiple years does point to some added value. Also, comparing Show Me Select heifers with those not in the program reveals how artificial insemination, or AI, and better genetics can increase average sale prices anywhere from 7 to 22%.
In the beef industry, we're looking at about 10% or less of the cattle in the beef industry are artificially inseminated every year, which is extremely low compared to other nations, and even other sectors within the U.S. The dairy industry is almost strictly AI, and we've still been slow to implement it in the beef industry.
Many of the enrolled Missouri farms, 115 as of fall of 2013, kept Show Me heifers for their own herds. That's the case at Crooks Farms near Leeton, Missouri, where 3 families are involved in the cattle business.
You know, we started out with this program just to make a little extra money on as far as selling bred heifers, but it's turned our whole cow herd around because, you know, through AI and being able to get better genetics.
The program's heifers must have pelvic bones of a certain width and height, a mature reproductive system, and have received certain vaccinations. At Crooks Farms, this year's 125 heifers were run through a chute for the usual vaccinations, as well as a pre-breeding exam. The cattle are run through at least 4 more times for placing and later removing implants that regulate progesterone levels, optional artificial insemination, and 1 or 2 pregnancy checks.
It works for some producers, it doesn't work for other producers because it's a lot of extra work, but then when they go to sell them, they get a lot more value added there.
The program prompts cattle producers to add practices they might not have otherwise. At Crooks Farms, they not only added artificial insemination to give themselves more options for sires, but also began implanting the progesterone devices known as seeders, or controlled internal drug release inserts, to synchronize their heifers' reproductive cycles. As a result, most heifers will be fertile around the same time, and as a group, they calve within a narrower time span.
When they was bull bred, we was up 45, 60 days at 2 o'clock every night. Somebody was checking the heifers. Now we've got them grouped to where that's a 10, 12, 14-day period, and then we've kind of got a slack time.
Statistics suggest those heifers in the program are less likely to need assistance calving.
If we look at national data, typically first calf heifers have an assistance rates of 25 to 30%. In our Show Me Select program, we have that pulled that down into that 8, 9, 10% of assistance rates.
Hiring a veterinarian or AI technician to work on the heifers, as well as the per animal fees, can create new expenses, but beef experts not involved in the program understand why it could lead to a financial gain. Less than 2 years ago, Missouri's Show Me Select spun off a related program, Quality Beef by the Numbers, to track how steers born from the program's females are doing when it comes to meat quality.
We want to trace those animals from conception to carcass.
For Market to Market, I'm Paul Yeager.
And you can watch this story again on Show Me Select on our Farm Week website. That's farmweek.msucares.com. You can also watch Farm Week stories on our Farm Week USA Facebook page and YouTube. We'll also have a link to the Market to Market website where you can see the original story as well and read the script. We are available at twitter.com/farmweek. And Leighton, did you hear that? They're using AI and 2-week calving period. That's impressive.
It is.
Want to remind you of our Farmweek Survey, our audience survey. Go online and you can take the online version. Go to our webpage, farmweek.msucares.com, and there will also be the information there if you want to take the telephone survey. But we do need you to do that because we want to make Farm Week better. We want it to fit what you want, and the only way we can do that is for you to tell us what you think. Well, we are at the end of Farm Week for this week. On our next show, a flashback to Farm Weeks past.
We'll pay tribute to the late woodcarver George Berry Sr., who passed away earlier this year. Farm Week visited Berry in the year 2000.
In the food factor, home canning, benefit from the homegrown goodness and be safe as well.
In Southern Gardening, don't let the color of flowers distract you. Take a close-up look at their beauty.
For the rest of the Farm Week crew, I'm Artist Ford.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.